And 24 hours ago, Donald Trump threw 50 years of American foreign policy out the window because it wasn't working.
The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. Instead, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too.
We call balls and strikes on this show, so it's time for a reality check. In fact, we gave you one last night, just as the president finished up his remarks in real time. He changed the Middle East in his first term. The Abraham Accords, peace with Israel and a number of its Arab neighbors. Moved the embassy to Jerusalem, which we were told was going to start a war and all these things. It did not. Iran now seems to be on its heels, not because of the Biden administration's policies, but despite of it. There's, I think, a lot of appetite, especially in the United States, to say the way we've been dealing with the Palestinians for the past 50 years by both Republicans and Democrats hasn't worked. Why not give something new a try? So now let me tell you why it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked because the Palestinians have been offered a two-state solution time and time again, and they have rejected it. Nobody talks about that in Washington. In 1948, the Arabs rejected the partition plan and launched a war against then the Jewish people in Israel. In 1967, Arab armies invaded Israel. Then in 2000 at Camp David, the Palestinians were offered 95% of what they wanted, but Yasser Arafat rejected it. In 2008, Palestinians rejected it again. None of the coverage over the past 24 hours of Trump's plan laid out that very simple fact. All this fact-checking of whether Trump can carry out his plan to get the Palestinians out of Gaza and rebuild the place. And everybody, maybe then, could move on with their lives.
When you're a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. When you're a reality television real estate developer, every problem is a resort to be built.
This is not anything of a plan. This is a complete American imperialism at its roots, at its core.
It is a fantasy to think that ethnic cleansing in the 21st century can be condoned.
Oh, it's been condoned over and over and over again, if you even want to call it ethnic cleansing. I lived and covered this conflict for 4 years. I have a better idea. Let's admit that the status quo is not working, and it's not working because of the Palestinians. It hasn't worked for 50 years. There is no two-state solution. The Palestinians want to destroy Israel. They say it over and over and over again. So let's tell the truth. 15,000 Hamas fighters remain in Gaza and control the Gaza Strip. So you have 1.8 million people living in an area slightly bigger than New York City with no housing or infrastructure, no sewage, and a pathological medieval army controlling the Gaza Strip. That is all Hamas's fault. And history tells us that aid flows into Gaza. Hamas will steal it and build more tunnels and rearm in order to attack Israel. They've done it over and over and over again. Conventional wisdom for the past 50 years hasn't worked, but nobody will say that. They just want to trash Trump because he called them out. Begin tonight with Joel Rubin, former Foreign Affairs Office at the State Department, started a group called J Street, trying to start a two-state solution, and Niall Standish, White House columnist for The Hill. Okay, we can all agree, and I know I am surrounded here, literally. We can all agree that the past 50 years has not worked, right?
Yes, we completely disagree on the reasons why, though.
Well, obviously, but okay. So, given the fact that it is not worked, why not at least examine and give a fair shake to the guy who is saying, let's try something new?
Hey, look, Donald Trump, he was on the cusp of being seen as someone who's bringing stability to this conflict. We've just had 2 weeks of a ceasefire, and now overnight, he's decided to throw it all out. Overnight, he said, you know what? This ceasefire process, the one that was envisioned to develop what we call a third phase meaning what to do about Gaza, negotiating with our friends and allies in the region, negotiating with Israel. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to come up with my own independent idea that nobody believes.
Well, hold on.
That's sort of outlandish.
Okay, but you just by your own admission stated that he is the guy who got a ceasefire when Joe Biden couldn't for a year. Maybe he's onto something.
Let me explain. He got the ceasefire because it was actually baked in 8 months of diplomacy by the Biden administration that he joined with. And now he's in the position where he's winning on this issue, getting a ceasefire. He has Netanyahu here. He has the heads of Egypt and Jordan coming. Why did he turn his back on this process?
I don't think he did, but I'm guessing, Niall, you do. This is what I'm going to point out. Majority of Palestinians support Hamas. 57% of Gazans, 82% of Palestinians living in the West Bank support an organization that says we want to wipe out Israel. That is indisputable. Why on earth should the United States continue to spend another day, and why should Israel spend another day, saying that they should allow this organization to control and to have any existence of either the West Bank or in Gaza?
Because the way to wean people away from violence and from armed struggle, as they would see it, is to provide a political path forward. You laid out in your introduction the failure of the two-state solution. When has an American administration really put the screws to Israel to abide by a two-state solution? Israel has been illegal occupation of the West Bank for 50 years.
Bill Clinton did it, and George W. Bush did it.
And the problem was that the Palestinians were not offered a contiguous state. They were offered parcels of land. If we get back into the 2000 proposal, we'll be here all night. The point is, Palestinians are radicalized by the inability to make progress by peaceful means. You talk about the Palestinian support for Hamas. Hold on one second. The Prime Minister of Israel is an accused war criminal. The former National Security Minister of Israel is convicted all by Israeli courts of supporting terrorism. The finance minister.
Okay, so if you just want to demonize Israel here, but I think the larger point though is,
it's not. Why is it demonizing Israel to say Benjamin Netanyahu is an accused war criminal?
Because anybody can accuse anybody of anything. The fact
the International Criminal Court,
which is the most anti-Semitic organization in the world.
I'm going to take a bit of middle ground here. Now I'm moving in the middle, which is I think it's outlandish that he was accused by the ICC for war crimes. But I will say, he has never embraced the two-state solution either. There was a prime minister, Yitzhak Rabin, who did, and at the time that he did it at the beginning of the Oslo process, Netanyahu was on the streets protesting against that. So I think it's disingenuous to say that somehow only the Palestinians who have, I agree with you, rejected two-state solutions, that they're the only ones that have.
Majority of Palestinians don't support a two-state solution. When the Israelis gave Gaza to the Palestinians without any conditions and without walling it off or anything else, they turned it into a terror state. Again, why? And we've been told over and over again, Niall, that Gazans are refugees. So when offered, hey, you can go back to an area that is full of rubble, okay, and controlled by Hamas, or let's call the Arab world's bluff and say, do you really care about the Palestinians? Why don't you take some and give them the opportunity of a better life? Why would that not be a better solution?
For whom would it be a better solution? It is up to the Palestinians to decide where they live. It is not up to the President of the United States to shunt people around.
It was not up to the million-plus Jews living in the Arab world when they were all kicked out of Arab lands over the past 50 or 60 years.
Right, wrongly. But wrong.
So it wasn't up to them.
Exactly. But why are we then defending the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians if we agree that the ethnic cleansing of Jewish people is wrong?
We're not defending ethnic cleansing, and by definition, people are told that those who are, quote, living in Gaza are refugees. So if an area is complete rubble, you're just saying we should abandon the Palestinians and let them go back to rubble?
No, I'm not. I'm saying it is up to the people of the Palestinian territories to decide where they wish to live. It is not up to Donald Trump. It is not up to the U.S. military. It is not up to Benjamin Netanyahu to dictate to another people where they should live, if those people are on their own land.
Unless they are using that land to commit terrorist acts and to start wars. But Joel, I'll ask you this question.
Yeah.
Okay. Where is Egypt? Where is Jordan? Where is the Arab world that says they care so much about the Palestinians, and why does the U.S. media ignore all of that in this story?
Well, Egypt, in and of itself, has its own concerns about the Muslim Brotherhood. of
Right,
which
because they don't want a
Hamas
bunch of
is
terrorists
part.
either.
And they do not want the Muslim Brotherhood there. They do not want Hamas in there. They've built a wall alongside the South. But there's a complexity to this that we have to recognize. Will Niall is pointing out. Look, ultimately, the Palestinians want to live in Gaza and they want to live in the West Bank. A real plan forward would be one where all the Palestinian entities would be included, including the Palestinian Authority, which has not been given a role in governing Gaza. And they voted them out, but they're sitting there in their government that actually Israel works with for security in the West Bank. This is what we need to be thinking about.
The fact that everybody thinks about this in Washington, oh, it's so complex, oh, it's so difficult, oh, it's so this.
It is.
Maybe what Donald Trump said, though, is no, it's not. And maybe what it requires is somebody to not say we need to study this, but maybe it says, look, nothing's been working. We are going to enforce a solution. May not be perfect in every sense of the word. May not be perfect for the Israelis either. But at least it's going to move forward.
There's a word in Yiddish, we call it balagan, which means chaos and craziness. So he's created
that was Arabic too,
and Hebrew for that matter. It's a balagan. Look, if we want to spend $1 trillion to try to nation build a Gaza Strip, which is in worse shape than Iraq ever was, and cost thousands of American lives most likely to deal with it, have at it. I didn't know that the American people voted for a nation-building exercise in the Gaza Strip, and I don't know what the American interest is in sending troops to do that. Outside of that, then
let the Israelis get Hamas out of the Gaza Strip, which I think we all agree.
They've been trying.
No, they've been handcuffed by the Biden administration. That's a different issue. And I think the reason right now that you're seeing the ceasefire fall apart is because Israel is going to demand. I know, but it's going to fall apart because Israel is going to demand Hamas surrender, and Hamas isn't going to surrender, and then we're going to be back at war. Again, Niall, if we really care about the Palestinians, the innocent Palestinians who we're told to exist, who just want peace and security, despite the fact that 75% of them supported the October 7th attacks, isn't the fundamental bottom line, the starting line, have to be Hamas must go, people who support violence and organized terror must go, and then we can have an honest conversation?
No, because the reason is that you need to work on the causes of support for political violence.
How about
the manifestation of it?
On?
And let me hold on 1 second. You talked about if we care about the Palestinians, having just said that Israel was handcuffed by the Biden administration, handcuffed while they killed 47,000 Palestinians. 47,000. And the handcuffed?
Yes.
Come on.
Yes, according to a terrorist organization. Anyway, I don't think we solved this problem today.
It's
been going on for 50 years. Now we're 50 years in a day. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
Pleasure's always ours. Quick programming alert. We're pleased to announce starting Monday. The show begins at 9 p.m. Eastern. Our time slot may be different. Our commitment to fairness and to objectivity will not change. Starts with the Why It Matters memo, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. There will also be a repeat for those of you on the West Coast. Today, Donald Trump signed an executive order to kick men out of women's sports. Will Democrats keep fighting common sense?
Secret Service is worried about them. If we have to worry about them, we have big problems. Okay.
Leland Vickers is bringing On Balance to prime time.
We welcome you to the Ferris Network on television.
Fair.
So that was a fair way to sum up how you're feeling about this.
Fearless.
And nobody gets away with talking points on this show.
Predictably unpredictable.
And we never back down from the truth.
Primetime won't know what hit it.
Things just got real.
New time, same Leland. Coming to primetime Monday at a new time, 9 Eastern, only on News Nation.
Where am I headed? Am I just going to take what the market gives me? No, I can do some research.
You know, that's backed by JP Morgan's leading strategists, like us.
When you want to invest with more confidence, the answer is JP Morgan Wealth Management.
I've always been an active person. Biking, running, but yoga, it's really special to me. It's definitely a big part of who I am, and I love the way it makes me feel. But there was a time not long ago when I felt I had to accept the idea of hanging up this old yoga mat. You see, I have symptomatic obstructive HCM, which left me so short of breath, I just couldn't get out here, making me feel like a bystander in my own life. So I talked to my cardiologist, and he told me about Camzyos. He said Camzyos works by targeting what's causing my obstructive HCM. So he prescribed it, and I'm so thankful he did.
Camzyos is used to treat adults with symptomatic obstructive HCM. Camzyos may improve your symptoms and your ability to be active. Camzyos may cause serious side effects, including heart failure that can lead to death, a risk that's increased if you develop a serious infection or irregular heartbeat or when taking certain other medicines. So do not stop, start, or change medicines or the dose without telling your healthcare provider. You must have echocardiograms before and during treatment. Seek help if you experience new or worsening symptoms of heart failure. Because of this risk, Camzyos is only available through a restricted program. Before taking Camzyos, tell your doctor about all of your medical conditions, including current or planned pregnancy.
With Camzyos reducing my symptoms, I've gone from sitting on the sidelines to being back in the game. My name is Stephanie, and this is my Camzyos moment. Call your cardiologist today and see if a Camzyos moment may be in your future, too.
Nice to meet you. My name is David. I've been a pharmacist for 44 years, and I'm from Flowery Branch, Georgia. When I have customers come in, I recommend Prevagen. Number one, because it's safe and effective, does not require a prescription, and I've been taking it for a while myself, and I know it works, and I love it when the customers come back in and tell me, David, that really worked so good for me. Makes my day.
Prevagen, for your brain.
My mental health is better, but uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, started disrupting my day.
TD felt embarrassing. I felt like disconnecting. I asked my doctor about treating my TD and learned about Ingrezza.
Ingrezza is clinically proven to treat TD, quickly reducing TD by greater than 5 times in 2 weeks. Number 1 prescribed Ingrezza has dosing that's always 1 pill once daily, and you can keep taking most mental health meds. Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden behavior or mood changes, or suicidal thoughts. Don't take Ingrezza if allergic. Serious side effects may include allergic reactions like sudden, potentially fatal swelling and hives, sleepiness, the most common side effect, and heart rhythm problems. Know how Ingrezza affects you before operating a car or dangerous machinery. Report fever, stiff muscles, or problems thinking, as these might be life-threatening. Shaking, stiffness, drooling, and trouble with moving or balance may occur.
Take control by asking your doctor about Ingrezza.
Safe like repair, safe like replace.
Nobody likes a cracked windshield. But at least you can go to SafeLight.com and schedule a fix in minutes. Go to SafeLight.com and schedule a replacement today.
Safe like repair, safe like replace.
We are 16 days into President Trump's second term, and it appears the resistance, otherwise known as Democrats, have finally found a hill to die on. At a rally today, Democrats lined up to defend something that most Americans had never heard of, USAID programs. Team Trump says the agency wastes money on ultra-liberal projects like $1.5 billion on job opportunities for LGBTQ people in Serbia, $2.5 million for electric vehicles in Vietnam, $3.2 million on helping migrants readjust to living in their own country, another $3 million for LGBTQ rights in the Caribbean, and just under $500,000 to promote atheism in Nepal. The list goes on and on and on and on. But if you listen to Democrats today, democracy here in America will cease to exist if President Trump and Musk get rid of them.
We're not going to have apartheid in America anymore. Hey, ho, ho. Elon Musk has got to go. When President Trump ran, he said he would make America safe again. Nothing about this makes us safer. But this is not a playground. This is our nation. We will not shut up. We will stand up. We will speak up. We will rise up. This is a dictatorship in the making.
Is that the Republicans? They are losing when they attack our healers.
Without that, we have no country. We are not secure. We cannot protect democracy. But joke's on them, because who knows better how to work in an authoritarian country than all of you?
Chris Cillizza is with us, journalist, senior advisor of the DGA Group, as you can see, author of one of the great Substacks of all time. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Is it telling that rather than defending any of these programs, all Democrats are doing is attacking Elon Musk?
I think it is, and I think Rahm Emanuel, who I know a lot of Democrats hate, former Chicago mayor, former Obama White House chief of staff, but I tend to think is very smart about realpolitik, what works and what doesn't. I'm paraphrasing him, but he essentially has said, you gotta know which pitches to swing at, and not swing at all of them. Now, I have a very close friend who works at USAID. She does great work. This is not about the agency writ broadly in what they do. But if you're picking a political fight, like this is the hill, to your point, the hill that we're going to fight on. Number one, as you said, no one knows what it is or what it does, okay? And then, to the extent that you inform people about what it does, guess what most Americans don't really want to spend money on? Other countries, right? America first. That's what Donald Trump ran on. So it's like, I'm not sure that this is the fight you want to pick, because even if people do find out this agency that they don't know what it does, it's a thing that they're going to say, well, why is it a $38 billion budget? Why don't we get rid of some of it? And you know who especially feels that way? 18 to 29-year-old men who, not for nothing, Donald Trump won in the 2024 election.
It's confounding. There's the argument that the reason that Democrats are so for it is because so many of these programs basically further their agenda, both in the United States and abroad. But you think about, like, something else that's happening, right? Which would be, and I'm going to say this really bluntly, the price of eggs. Yeah. Waffle House is now ordering a surcharge, 50-cent surcharge on every egg ordered, according to a memo from Waffle House, one of my favorite people. In fact, people are now sharing on social media Donald Trump in a Waffle House uniform serving eggs. A little different than McDonald's. And here was Chris Matthews on MSNBC earlier.
Trump's going to deal with that. He's going to deal with prices. And it'll come back to bite him in November next year. He will lose votes in the close House races for the re-election next year on drug prices, egg prices. It's going to be as basic as that.
Now, there's an irony, right, of course, of Chris Matthews talking about egg prices. We don't know what the free-range egg could cost him this summer. I mean, this guy has real experience with this. But to that point, there are things that Donald Trump is going to have to face, and presidents do not get to define their own presidency. We know that. Why not fight on those issues? I don't get it.
I don't either, because people always say to me, not always, when people ask me, what was the election about? I said, look, I'll make it really, really plain. 31% of people said the economy was the most important issue in deciding their vote. That was top, not surprisingly, but the top issue. Of that group, Donald Trump won 69% of the vote, and Kamala Harris won 29% of the vote. That's the election, right? We can talk, there's a million other things, change versus more of the same, and blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, that's it. So to me, yes, I think every day they should go up here on Capitol Hill and be like, you know what the price of eggs are today? Fill in the blank. And that's up 30 cents or 20 cents or 15 cents.
Price of eggs are up because of bird flu. But the point is, Joe Biden can tell you, Americans don't care why the price is up.
Donald Trump blamed Joe Biden for price stuff that Joe Biden had nothing to do with, and it hurt Joe Biden politically. We're not talking about, look, the American public is not a bunch of economists debating, like, what actually raises the prices of your groceries. They're the people who buy your groceries.
So the issue, though, of cutting government spending has been popular back to the time of Ronald Reagan. Take a listen.
Yep.
There is no magic money machine. Every dollar the government spends comes out of your pocket. Every dollar the government gives to someone has to first be taken away from someone else. So it's our moral duty to make sure that we can justify every one of your tax dollars.
I can't understand the political logic of jumping up and down and saying, must spend all money.
Here's what I would say. You've got to think of the context. They lost everything in the 2024 election. White House, they didn't win back the House majority. They lost the Senate majority. They don't have a majority of governorships. They don't have control of a majority of the state legislatures. This party is on the mat, and so they're looking for ways to get up. In my estimation, purely from a political perspective, this ain't the USAID is not the way to do it. You start by saying, Donald Trump said he was going to bring gas prices, egg prices, grocery prices down. How is he doing on day 16? Right. How is he doing on day 17?
Well, I'll tell you what, the flip side is they don't have any leadership.
Well, this is
exactly.
It's a vacuum.
Right, it's a vacuum. Chuck Schumer with, chanting we're going to win didn't really work out. Good to see you. Thank you, my friend.
Good to see you.
First word about this in War Notes. That's our daily newsletter. Comes out just after 4 p.m. Eastern. Insights and analysis on the top stories of the day. You can subscribe for free at warnotes.com. Also see you on social media at Leland Bitter. Country music star John Rich. There he is, live and in person. He says he has figured out a way to project and protect. John, you're going to have to do this segment from big banks that want to close their accounts. He's next with Trump's yelling at bank CEOs.
But I hope you start opening your bank to conservatives, because many conservatives complain that the banks are not allowing them to do business.
Even with my mom's Alzheimer's, we've still been close. But when she developed agitation that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease, a distance came between us. She'd get upset when I tried to help, began wandering, even started swearing. She got agitated often, so we talked to her doctor.
Rexulti is the only FDA-approved medication proven to reduce agitation symptoms that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Elderly people with dementia-related psychosis have increased risk of death or stroke, report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar can lead to coma or death, weight gain, increased cholesterol, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
Rexulti helped reduce my mom's symptoms.
Take action for your loved one. Talk to their doctor today about Rexulti.
Nobody's born with grit. It's something you build over time. It's 21 missed cuts in a row. For 89 years, Morgan Stanley has offered clients determination and forward thinking to create the future only you can see.
Bros, back in the winner's circle.
I brought in Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein. Those who tried me felt more energy in just 2 weeks. Here, I'll take that.
Ensure Max Protein. 30 grams protein, 1 gram sugar, and a protein blend to feed muscles up to 7 hours.
I told you I don't need these anymore. I have Sling. This critical time calls for the critical news coverage that Sling provides.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
The most important news at the best price. Sling lets you do that.
The itch and rash of moderate to severe eczema disrupts my skin night and day. Despite treatment, it's still not under control. But now, I have Rinvoq. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that reduces the itch and helps clear the rash of eczema fast. Some taking Rinvoq felt significant itch relief as early as 2 days, and some achieved dramatic skin clearance as early as 2 weeks. Many saw clear or almost clear skin.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin. Serious allergic reactions. GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events. Infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Disrupt the itch and rash of eczema. Talk to your dermatologist about Rinvoq.
Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
don't know where I'd be without Carewell.com. With Mom's diagnosis, suddenly I was both her daughter and caregiver, managing all her needs, including her incontinence. We tried all the store brand adult diapers. They were so expensive and they didn't work. Now I buy all Mom's incontinence supplies at Carewell.com. Wipes, bed pads, ointments, and adult diapers. I even got 30% off my first order with auto ship and save. And I got fast free shipping. Carewell makes home healthcare shopping easy. Get 30% off your first order at Carewell.com.
We can all agree, at least we should be able to agree, that discrimination is objectively bad. It's wrong. It's a pretty obvious statement. But as President Trump pointed out a few weeks ago, banks are doing it all the time. It is called debanking. In other words, canceling the accounts of customers or businesses the bank disapproves of.
I hope you start opening your bank to conservatives, because many conservatives complain that the banks are not allowing them to do business within the bank, and that included a place called Bank of America. They don't take conservative business. And I don't know if the regulators mandated that because of Biden or what, but you and Jamie and everybody, I hope you're going to open your banks to conservatives, because what you're doing is wrong.
Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan Chase. This hearing today, Trump and conservatives found an unusual ally, Elizabeth Warren, progressive senator from Massachusetts.
For me, this is straightforward. It doesn't matter who you voted for, what you believe in, or the origin of your last name. People shouldn't be arbitrarily denied access to their banks, locked out of their accounts, or stripped of their banking privileges.
And the word arbitrarily probably has something to do with why she said that. With us now, country music star, co-founder of Old Glory Bank, John Rich, saw the debanking problem firsthand, started Old Glory Bank to take a stand against it. John, it is good to see you, at least in principle. Am I going to get you to agree with Elizabeth Warren on television?
Sure, I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, I'll agree with her. It's interesting why she would make those statements when she fully well knows that for the past 4 or 5 years, the woke banking system has targeted conservatives mercilessly and endlessly and put many conservative Americans out of business. They have caused them some irreparable harm to their personal finances and to their businesses. So to hear her say that, okay, all right, I agree with you. The word arbitrarily is a word that can be used in many different ways. But people have been debanked. That word used to be a conspiracy theory. If you went on social media and said so-and-so got debanked, everybody would say there's no such thing as debanking. And then you find out that Bank of America not only was debanking people, and other big banks too, but they're also turning over your private records where you shop. Do you remember that story? They asked, the federal government asked the bank, hey, we want to know where your customers are shopping. And instead of the bank saying, sorry, you're going to have to take us to court for that, they just turned it all over and showed Joe Biden and his cronies where everybody was shopping. I mean, that is how woke and disgusting the banking world in America has become.
Okay, so you guys started Old Glory, starting to get now some traction. You promised to protect American consumers and those who work with you at the bank. That said, ... you now have Donald Trump in office telling the banks not to do this. What's now the point of Old Glory if Donald Trump's going to fix it?
Well, the entire banking system is still there, okay? They may have crawled back in the shadows for a minute, but they're not going anywhere. And there are other ways they can hurt you as a conservative other than just shutting off your bank account. They can deny loans. They can keep you from getting what you need to get to chase the American dream. Old Glory Bank was founded by myself, Dr. Ben Carson, Larry Elder, former Governor Fallon of the great state of Oklahoma. And we put this together because we know that there are people in powerful places in the United States, and a lot of them in the private sector in the banking world, that salivate at the idea of being able to hurt conservatives and conservative businesses through their banking practices. OldGloryBank.com is the website. We're now over 50,000 customers, all 50 states. It takes less than 10 minutes to open an account. And guess what, Lee? If you call Old Glory Bank on the phone, an American answers the phone, you can understand what they're saying. They're nice. They walk you right through the process, man. You're not, I'm sorry, I can't. What did you say? None of that nonsense. It is owned by Americans. It serves Americans, and it is growing by leaps and bounds right now.
I want to get you on this. Bank of America put a statement after Donald Trump called them out, put it up on the screen for you, essentially denying that they have done anything wrong and that they, quote unquote, debank conservatives. You say on it, I just want to get, for people who don't follow this, in a minute or less, tell me what you mean by debanking. And is this literally they say somebody's a gun store and one day they decide, you know, we're not going to give you your business anymore?
Yeah, they just stop all your transactions. By the way, I'll say about that post you just put up, they said we have 70 million customers. Guess what Bank of America did right after they posted that? Turned off the comments. They didn't want anybody to be able to comment on that post. That's how much they care about their customers. They just turned them off. So yeah, they do all kinds of things. For gun companies, I know for a fact they have just stopped all their transactions nationwide and put companies on the edge of bankruptcy. So listen, there's one thing I do want to get in before you let me go. There's something special that we do at Old Glory Bank for our active duty military, for our firefighters, law enforcement, and border patrol. And that is, if you're an Old Glory Bank customer, you have an account with us, and God forbid you're killed in the line of duty while actively serving, we give you a $100,000 death benefit. No questions asked. You can't name another company on earth that offers something like that. We're dead serious about serving our fellow Americans. We're dead serious about having a parallel economy and giving Americans an option from the woke bank system that will still be there long after Donald Trump is president. So everybody needs to go. OldGloryBank.com. Check it out.
All right. John, thank you very much. Telling that you guys got time in front of the U.S. Senate today. We appreciate it. Thank you. Speaking of banks, Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri and Democratic Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont co-sponsored a bill. The bill would cap credit card interest rates at 10%. Sounds great, right? Bipartisan support to save us all money. Here is Senator Hawley.
This is a sustainable situation. It is not sustainable. This has to change. 1.17 trillion in debt. This has to change. And I'll just end with this, Mr. Chairman. I thought one of the best proposals that the President-elect Trump, made during his last campaign, his most recent campaign, was to cap the interest rates of credit cards. So we could do that.
Now, you really can, but let's just go with it. Much like defunding the police, capping credit card interest rates will hurt the very people it is designed to help. A 10% cap sounds better than defunding the police, obviously, but the result is going to be the same. The poorest among us get crushed. Americans hold a record $1.17 trillion in credit card debt as of 2023. Average household credit card debt is $21,000. So yes, Americans are getting crushed. Banks charge high interest rates on credit cards because they are unsecured loans. So right now, the average credit card rate is 28%, 28.61% to be exact. The average mortgage rate is 7%. So here's the difference. The mortgages are secured by your house, often guaranteed by the government. Credit cards are not. The high interest rates incentivize the banks to take the risk. At 10%, no bank will risk loaning unsecured money, especially to working class Americans. So therefore, only the very rich, the people who don't need credit cards, will have them. Effectively, Josh Hawley has proposed cutting off a lifeline for tens of millions of Americans. The laws of economics cannot be repealed, even by an act of Congress. So sure, sticking it to the bank sounds great, all for it. But it will hurt the very people it is designed to help. We have asked Hawley and Sanders to come on and prove me wrong. Stay tuned. Donald Trump wants to clean house at the FBI, but first he has to pick those to fire the new way the FBI is trying to protect its own from the president.
Coming up next, Cuomo on News Nation. News for all Americans.
Believe me, when it comes to investing, you'll love Carl's Way. Take a left here, please. But there's a... Carl's Way is the best way.
Is it? At Schwab, how I choose to invest is up to me.
Exactly. I can invest and trade on my own.
Yes, and I let them manage some investments for me, too.
Let's move on, shall we? No can do.
I'll get out here.
Where are you going?
Schwab.
Schwab, a modern approach to wealth management. The itch and rash of moderate to severe eczema disrupts my skin night and day. Despite treatment, it's still not under control. But now, I have Rinvoq. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that reduces the itch and helps clear the rash of eczema fast. Some taking Rinvoq felt significant itch relief as early as 2 days, and some achieved dramatic skin clearance as early as 2 weeks. Many saw clear or almost clear skin.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including